Hey everybody, welcome back to the Badgerland Birding Podcast, bringing you birding news and stories from the Badger State and beyond. Today, I'm here with Ryan, and we're going to talk about what we've been up to lately, as well as some spooky birds for Halloween coming up. Always kind of an exciting time to think about nocturnal species, owls, and everything in that vein. How's it going, Ryan?
It's going. This time of the year, fall, it gets cooler, the leaves are changing color and falling from the trees. It always gets me in the mood to get birding because you get the
Really?
transitional time. Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't like summer for
Well, I feel
birding.
like it's fall migration's kind of over now. Like just now you're getting in the spirit.
Well, it's not over because you're going to get some of the species that are here in winter starting to appear. So, we
It
talk
feels
about
like a
some of the
lot of the
winter
excitement's gone
finches.
though. Like a lot
No,
of the
no,
fall
no, no.
warblers not here anymore.
No, because we get winter species. So we're going to get all the different ducks that come down in winter. We're going to get winter finches, maybe some snowy owls and other birds like that. It's an exciting time of the year for people that like that kind of stuff. And I happen to like that kind
It
of
sounds
stuff.
like you're excited for winter, not fall, is what I'm
Well,
getting.
I like it when you still get, a 70-degree day in there, but then you can also see some snow buntings.
That's fair. I do feel like the bulk of fall migration stuff, I'm kind of thinking, like I was still thinking about migrating shorebirds and things, and a lot of that stuff feels like it's kind of past
You
now.
get some late records of that stuff. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
ruddy turnstones can be kind of late. You might get some weird stuff showing up. I remember one time there was a red phalarope, I think, that was reported in Dane County I went to see, and I think that was November.
I
So you
would
can
love
get
that.
cool
That'd be
stuff.
awesome.
I think one time actually we did a trip around the state to see as many rare birds as we could in the fall. And I think that was November. And I think we got rufous hummingbird and we got eared grebe and we got harlequin duck. So you can get some good days still with some rare stuff showing up.
Yeah, you never know. We'll kind of just have to see. There was a really good day in the state for Harris's sparrows. Maybe about a week ago. We had four in one spot. Somebody reported five in that area, so that's pretty weird to have that many Harris's sparrows, but I'll take it. Love a good Harris's sparrow.
Yeah, absolutely love a good Harris sparrow. They're one of my favorite sparrows because they have such a narrow window for which they are in our state. It always seems that it's 1 week in the spring and then 1 week or 2 weeks in the fall, and that's about it. We were talking to someone the other day that said that they winter in their state, which was Oklahoma. So that would be pretty cool to go to a place where there's just all these wintering Harris sparrows. I feel the same way about golden crown sparrow too. That's a neat species, more western.
Yeah, I wish we got Golden Crown more. I think we've only had it the one time in, the last 10 years since
And we
we
went to
started
see
birding.
it and we
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So what other fall stuff what did you go out to see this fall? I feel like I went out more than you did.
Yeah, I haven't gone out that much. I mean, I don't know if it'd be late summer or early fall. I went on that trip to see the whooping cranes,
Mhm.
which was cool, before they migrated south, which I'm assuming most of them, if not all of them, are gone by now. You never know what's going to be straggling. Went to Warnemont Park, which is a park that's right on the lake for anybody that's not from the state. It has these cliffs that overlook Lake Michigan, which is really cool. So saw abundant amounts of flickers there. That was neat. Saw some fall warblers. So I haven't been out a ton, but I'm eager to get out there more as it transitions to that winter time, which is actually my favorite season for birding, I think.
So as you were mentioning the cranes, I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. They released a new license plate you can get that has cranes on it, and it actually looks really cool. Yeah, let me share the screen here, and
Are
then
you
I'll
gonna
kind of
get it?
explain it. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't. I'm not gonna do anything license plate wise until it's time to renew. But it is kind of interesting. So there it is.
Yeah, I like it.
It looks cooler than the other Wisconsin ones. You get a is it the Culver's ad? That's on point.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, yeah, political ads on the side, but yeah, that's the crane license plate. So it's got whooping cranes and sandhill cranes on it, in a marshy area. I think the number of I see three whooping cranes, four sandhill cranes, but that's a pretty big whooping crane ratio. That'd be nice.
They must be in like Nisita
I
or Horicon or something.
don't know, but I thought it was pretty cool
There is one with an eagle on, I think, too.
for
I
Wisconsin.
think. Thought so. You're
Let's
like,
see.
now I have to go to a deep dive in this.
There's some pretty cool bird themed license plates. Oh yeah, I think you're right. I don't think this one's as cool though. Let me share it. It's like kind of got its talons out.
What's not cool about that? That sounds very
I just
cool.
think the crane one is cooler.
Hmm. Yeah, I kind of see the position of the eagle there. It's sort of a weird
It's very
position.
covered.
Yeah, it's covered.
Then there's this one too that has the badger on it.
Hmm. See, I'm more of a bird guy.
I get, yeah, I understand. But yeah. So I think when we're talking about Halloween birds, obviously owls are a big one. We actually had an encounter with a great horned owl yesterday. We
Yeah,
were
that
out
was
on the
really
bike
fun
trail
actually.
and you just spotted it. You're like, hey, what's that? Bam, great horned owl. Then it was hooting up a storm. We saw it one more time again, but it was relatively elusive for how loud it was hooting. But it was pretty neat to see that. And then we had randomly a pair of bald eagles fly over, and then a red-tailed hawk, and then a ton of squirrels with walnuts. So it was a very fall walk.
Well, it's funny because there's this bike trail that's by where our parents live, and we walk on it a lot. So we do a lot of filming on there, or we'll just, get some exercise, go for a walk, take a look at some birds. And it was really late in the day, but we decided to go for a walk anyway. And I didn't bring a camera because I thought that it was going to get dark pretty quickly and that we weren't going to see anything. There was so much energy out there with birds. And like you mentioned, the squirrel, there was just a red squirrel sitting up in a tree eating a walnut for what must have been 30 minutes. So we're just walking along. The sky is absolutely beautiful. The sunset is in full swing. The moon is out. It's that pre-harvest moon or whatever it's called. What's the moon
Blood
called
moon?
right now? Where it's super full. What'd you call it? Super moon?
Was it blood moon?
Whatever it's called, the moon was absolutely huge. And how you usually spot owls is you just see a blob somewhere, and then you have to give it some special attention and deduce if it actually is an owl or if it's a squirrel nest or if it's just an abnormality in the tree. And this was a great horned owl. And there's definitely something magical when you spot one in real life because they do have a certain mystique.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like I was telling you yesterday, that I feel like anytime you see a squirrel now, it has a walnut. Like they must just be having so much fun out there.
Every squirrel has a walnut. That's
It
my
says
promise to you.
hunter's moon is what it's describing it
Okay.
as.
Don't go out.
Well, go out and look at it and see how cool it is. But uh yeah, it was fun to see the owl yesterday. I feel like Great Horn's definitely the most common one we have around here. So I feel like seeing them is really cool, but seeing any other kind of owl feels especially special.
Well, the great horned are so obvious with their size, and they tend to sit out on things. So that's the one that you see most often. I don't know. I would like to find out what the numbers of great horned owls in the area are compared to birds like screech owls that are a little less conspicuous.
I feel like I don't even know if we have any screeches in the neighborhood. I feel like you would
Which is
hear one
strange,
at
isn't
some
it?
point. I don't know. I think they like more intact forests. It doesn't seem like they're in areas that are kind of more urbanized, unless
Well, that
there's like a
seems like
big
it's
tract of
weird
forest around.
because the great horned you would think would need more space than a screech owl. And there is woods not that far away that's had barred owls in the past too. So there's at least two kinds of owls that live in the general vicinity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a little ways down for Bard, but yeah, it's always cool to see different
A
owl
stone's
species.
throw away for a barred owl.
Yeah, and there's about 250 owl species in the world, which is kind of crazy to think about. So they're actually pretty spread out on a variety of different continents and stuff. So owls in general, they've really made their way kind of around the world.
Yeah, and owls, we did an entire podcast episode just discussing them, but they always seem to warrant more discussion just because of how enigmatic they are. And there are a lot of things about them that seem mystical or spooky. The low hoots that they make. Some of their habits are a little on the creepy side too.
The primate sounds of the barred owl. I listened to
Oh,
some
they
of
make
those
such
back.
weird noises.
That's gotta account for some Sasquatch reports because that kind of reminds me of like that samurai sounds recording that they have
I don't
that
know about
sounds
that.
like it's
I've
the
never heard a
barred owl is
barred
pretty
owl
weird. It's pretty
making samurai
primate-y.
noises.
It's pretty
Yeah, it
weird.
is certainly. What we heard something the other day when we were walking that I don't, it was a squirrel, I think, and I was like, that sounded weird.
Yeah, the squirrels are getting pretty wild. And there's a lot of stuff out right now because we heard a frog too. There's a lot of things calling and making noises that sound like birds but aren't. The squirrels especially. And we did a tour the other day with a couple from California, and a lot of the stuff that we were hearing for like a certain section of time were mammals. They were like, you guys have more mammals that make noises than we do. So I guess it really depends what area you're in with how much you have to discount vocally as mammals versus birds.
Yeah, going back to the owls though, and what you said, I guarantee that a number of reports of cryptozoological creatures and spirits and ghosts and things like that were or could be attributed to owls making weird noises
Yeah, I
or
think
nocturnal birds in general.
that barred owl and then the barn owl
Yes.
because people think like Mothman and stuff. Well, it could have been barn owls or even young barn owls. Young barn owls look really creepy. Like
Well, they
there
look
was
creepy,
a
but the screaming. If you
yeah,
hear a
but there
barn
was
owl
a I've
screaming,
seen a picture of a family of barn owls in somebody's attic and they looked like little aliens. So I feel like just everything about the barn owl was made to freak people out.
well, they have a big facial disc and they have large dark eyes.
Yeah, it just seems like a recipe for you know, frightfulness, I
So would
suppose.
you say owl is officially a Halloween animal?
I think I would, but I'm not sure if that's just because I'm a birder, you know?
I know it's bats.
Yeah, I feel like owls. I feel like owls are Halloween for sure.
All right, settled.
What else do
Never
you
going
have? You have
back.
cats, bats, owls, right?
For some reason, I want to put raccoons in there, but I don't
I
think
feel like
anyone
you
else feels that
could.
way.
Sure, go for it.
Possums. I don't know. Just anything
Just
that's still
any
around in the
nocturnal
winter
animal.
time. Yeah, just anything
Throw
that's
them in there,
nocturnal.
lump them in there.
Yeah,
Okay, you gotta
exactly.
watch. You gotta watch this though. So I was talking about the barn owl.
Right.
Watch this.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, how creepy is that? Don't they look just like aliens?
Yeah, that's
Can
wild.
you
How
imagine
old are
popping your head
those?
up? They gotta be not old, but popping your head up into an attic and seeing that?
I would be freaked out. It's creepy how they're standing there like that too.
Yeah, so basically to anyone who's just watched or just listening to the audio, it looks like two little aliens, but you can tell that their
They
faces
look
are
like they
barn
mean
owls.
harm.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. So this was kind of like a viral video.
And I'm assuming people thought that they were aliens online, right?
I mean, even the title here it says baby owls look just like aliens, so they figured it out.
Eventually.
But I mean, they couldn't be that large though. You know, looking at the camera, they
Well,
look
Derek,
bigger,
the
but
grays aren't supposed to be that large.
I don't know.
You need to brush up on your alien
I
knowledge,
think I'm
apparently.
all right. I'm good
I
for
don't think
now.
so. I think that you need to know, unless the government shuts the stream down.
Well, you never know.
We're finding out too much.
But as far as other spooky bird vocalizations, I was looking at the Potu vocalizations, the common and the great. Those are pretty wild because the great just sounds very gruff, and it's one that if you heard in the jungle, you'd be like, "What is that?" And then the
I
common
don't
is
know
this
what all
really
you hear in the jungle. There's probably so
descending
many
melodic
wild things.
noise. Yeah, especially being unfamiliar with that area. I do feel like learning animal vocalizations does give you some sense of peace because everything you hear, you can kind of be like, "Oh, that's this." And you have some understanding.
So I
But if
remember
you're in
there
a
was
new
one
place, it'd be
time,
pretty wild.
I think you were there, or you may not have been. We were fishing at night down by this bend in the
Yeah,
river.
I remember.
And there was some sort of just scream,
I
some
think it was like a
animalistic
possum.
scream. Well, that's what Dad told us. And then later he revealed to me that he actually had no idea what it was, but he didn't want us to be scared. So
I
this
think it
whole
was
time
probably
I
like a
I was
possum.
thinking, oh, it was just a possum that was screaming. And now I don't know anymore. Could have been anything.
One thing that's pretty terrifying is if an animal catches like a rabbit, because they'll just make kind of like a blood-curdling scream.
Coyote noises are weird too.
Coyotes are
Especially
weird.
around here, if a train goes by and an ambulance goes
Ambulance.
off, the siren, they'll start to howl also, which is eerie. I remember we would walk on that same bike trail, but at night sometimes with a flashlight, and you would just hear them popping off from the sides of the trail really close to you. And coyotes typically don't harm humans, but there have been instances of them either with a pack in the pack mentality or having rabies and then going after people, which you just don't want to deal with.
I think there was that show that was on for a while called I Shouldn't Be Alive that talked about animal encounters, and one was a guy that got attacked by a pack of coyotes. That sounded pretty terrifying, having like all of them come towards you at once.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was actually at the Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary the other day, and there was a coyote there, and I saw it. And this one in particular just looked very small. I always am surprised with coyotes how widely they seem to vary in size.
Was it just hang like was it in the sanctuary or was it
Yeah, it's in the
wild? Oh,
sanctuary.
okay.
They have a bunch of rehabbed animals there, so I assume it was not able to be released. Either they raised it when it was young or it
Gotcha.
has some sort of
Bay
injury.
Bay Beach is a pretty cool place, kind of up by Green Bay. Why don't you tell everybody what that's like?
So we stumbled upon it because Derek and I are big football fans. We used to actually go to the Green Bay Packers training camp up in Green Bay where you could watch the professional players play, which was cool. And there's a nature center up there that we decided to stop by with our parents. And it turned out to be really, really cool. They have a building that has all these nocturnal animals in, and then there's all these Wisconsin animals. They actually have a puma, which is cool, a mountain lion. They have otters, they have gray and red foxes, they have wolves, and all of the animals there for the most part are rehabbed animals, so they can't be released in the wild for one reason or another. And they have an entire section with various birds of prey. So just about every owl species that comes through Wisconsin, they have there. And then they have pretty much every hawk species and eagle species as well that can be found in the state. So it's a really neat place to go to get a look at those animals. And you can spend a couple hours there just going through all the exhibits they have.
And there's the Bay Beach amusement park as well, too, that has rides and stuff.
Yeah, so
A little
Green
little
Bay
bit something for
destination.
everybody.
Go there for a Packer game on a Sunday, stay for that Saturday before and just hang out.
What was that? Stay for the Saturday before? Come up
Yeah,
on
like go
Saturday?
go there on Saturday and then yeah.
Gotcha.
Or go on a Monday, go
Just
Sunday,
go
Monday.
go
And
whenever you can. It's
when I was
cool.
up there, actually, they do a bunch of stuff before games. So I was there on a Saturday, and I stopped at Lambeau just to go inside and check it out because it's pretty cool. You can go to their Hall of Fame if you want. You can go to the pro shop. You can get inside the building and just walk around. And there were so many people there. You would have thought it was a game day because there were so many people inside the pro shop buying stuff. And I guess they had an autograph signing there, and the lady in the pro shop was like, "Oh, we do this every day before a game day at home." So it was interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, Bay Beach is a pretty cool place to check out. One of my favorite places to stop by is Retzer Nature Center in Waukesha. They have a lot of nice trails. It's a county park and a lot of different habitats. That's a good one. What are some of your other favorite nature centers?
I was like River Edge actually.
Hmm. River
Have
Edge up in
you've
Mequon.
seen River Edge?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they have
they
the little sturgeon tank.
yeah, there was a couple nature centers in New Mexico actually that I liked that I don't remember what they were called, but there was one that had this big glass window in almost like
Yeah, so
I don't
what
know how
was
to
that one
describe it. It was
called?
like overlooking water. So you would look down and you're just over the water and they had tons of turtles there and hummingbird feeders and stuff.
That
And it
one
was actually
wasn't
on the Rio Grande, wasn't it?
Yeah, wasn't it was it just called like the Rio Grande Nature Center or
Maybe
something?
possible. I did want to go back to talking about Bay Beach though, because they have two species there that are definitely Halloween-ish, spooky-ish, and that's the crow and the raven. And they actually have the crow exhibit right next to the raven exhibit, and there you can really see the difference in the two species. The ravens, when you see them, because you see them first usually if you walk around the normal way, they look just like, big dark birds with fairly big bills. And you look at them, you're like, oh yeah, could be a crow or could be a raven. Then the next one's the crows, and they look tiny compared to the ravens. The ravens just dwarf the crows.
I do think it's funny out in the field when you're debating. I feel like if you're ever debating, it's a crow because when you see a raven, you're just like, oh, that thing's massive. It's a raven.
Well, it seems that they vary in size too, because I've seen some ravens that are just huge and then some ravens that don't look that huge. but they have all the markings of what a raven
Well,
would be.
aren't there supposedly greater and lesser crows? Some
Yeah.
crows that are like larger and some that are
And
smaller.
crows are worth talking about because crows are wild. They're crazy. They have so many things about them that are more human than one would think, and their intelligence is off the charts.
Well, they do have funerals, allegedly.
So I actually learned all about this the other day because I
Yeah,
went down the
it
crow rabbit hole.
gets kind of morbid if you go too far.
Well, people were saying that crows will go, if there's a dead crow, they'll all go check it out and see what could have been the reason that that crow died. And if there's danger in that area, then they'll just stay away. So if a crow dies somewhere, they'll go check it out and then they'll stay away from that area for a while, especially if they determine that it was killed by something that was not natural. So, like humans or something like that. And they said if there's someone in that area with a dead crow, they'll look at that person as a potential threat in the future. And crows actually remember people. So crows will hold grudges against people, look at certain people as being dangerous or like certain people.
How do you think they determined that the crow knew who the person was?
I don't really know.
I have a lot of questions
I think
about
they
this
exhibit
research.
mobbing behavior toward people that they don't like generally. I think that's one way that they did this. There was actually an elaborate study done where they would take a dead crow and the human
Well,
would
that
like
just
go take it
sounds
away.
morbid.
Sure, but it was scientific research, and then they had a
That doesn't
fake
make it right.
predatory bird, so the person would bring out a predatory bird sometimes. It was this thing. I don't remember the rest of it, but there are anecdotal stories too about crows bringing items to people if the people feed them, and
Yeah,
then
I've heard about that.
following
Like they'll
these
bring you
people as they
gifts and
go out
things.
into the world. So they'll just go with these people as they're traveling, and then somebody lost their ring, and the crow brought it back to them, which is pretty crazy.
If that's true, that's a pretty wild story.
Yeah, and then my favorite crow story, I think, is that in France, they have crows that they taught to pick up garbage from this one park. So they have this receptacle where whenever a bird deposits the trash in it, it drops some food out. So they basically train the crows to go pick up garbage and then put it where it belongs, and then they get food.
That's pretty awesome. Aren't there stories of people training crows to like pick up money? So if like someone dropped money, the crow would pick it up and bring it to the person who trained them,
So they say that
or different
crows
animals.
will respond if you give them more food for a certain behavior. So if the crows are bringing you things and they bring you a dollar bill and you give them a ton of food for that dollar bill, they'll continue to specifically look for whatever item gave them the greatest reward. So in that way, you could theoretically train crows to bring you money.
It's interesting idea.
Yeah. Um, they seem like very, very interesting birds.
That kind of goes along with that the Rio Grande Valley Festival. There was like a falconer or a guy with birds there, and I believe they had a pied crow, and he would do the thing where you'd give him a dollar and he'd pick it up and put it in the like dollar receptacle. So maybe he's out picking up dollars and stuff too.
I remember there was some guy on YouTube that had a raven and he was like, "You don't want one of these."
I feel like he had like the raven on his shoulder, and when he said that, it would just like bite him or something.
I
Like, what
think
are
that
you
was pretty
talking
much
about?
exactly what
Yeah.
happened. He's just like, "Here, this is a raven, and he's kind of a jerk. You don't want one of these. He's mean to me."
The Nature Center in Albuquerque, Rio Grande Nature Center State Park. We actually have a video that we filmed there that we still have to make. That was a couple of years ago now.
That was the day I was just completely knocked out due to Grand Canyon sickness.
It
That
was
was
a
like
really
2 days
fun day
later.
though, but we were dealing with the
Great day.
wildfires out there too, so we couldn't even explore some of the areas we wanted to explore, and we really wanted to see Stellar's Jay.
You
That
really
was like
wanted
our
to see
big hope for
Stellar's
the
Jay. I
day. You
wanted to
didn't want to see
sleep.
Stellar's Jay?
I
You had
wanted to get
fun.
back in the car and sleep. Yeah, I had a good time, but I was just like, oh,
We got our life for Cassin's Finch up there.
that wasn't the Rio Grande one though. That was a different one. That was a different nature center.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm confusing it with, well, what was that one called then?
I have no idea what that one was called.
Yeah,
I've saw the
you
video
were
someplace.
you got your life for Black Phoebe at Rio Grande though.
I did.
Yeah, so that was good for you.
We
Good for
saw
you to get
Bewick's
out.
wrens. We saw what else did we see? A lot of black chin hummingbirds.
Was it Randall Davy Audubon?
Why in the world do you remember what that nature
Because I
center
had to
was?
research these places. Yeah, Randall Davy Audubon Center and Sanctuary in Santa Fe.
That was actually a pretty cool one too, because you
Yeah,
could
that
go
was
up
a
in the
really cool
mountains
place.
there. Yeah, and that habitat is where you would find the Stellar's jays that you
But
really
you had
wanted
to
to
go
see.
higher up, which we
You had
couldn't
to go
do.
higher up, which was impossible because of the fires. Yeah.
But it was still pretty fun. I think that morning we went to that farmers market there in Santa
Yeah.
Fe.
Yeah, we'll have to go back to the Southwest at some point.
Yeah, I feel like if I don't go to a place for a certain amount of time, you just get that vibe of really missing it.
But you
You
were
know,
looking at the Ohio video today because I was working on one of the biggest week videos. It was, I don't remember, day 5 or something. We did a lot of stuff that day. We went to Optics Alley and visited a bunch of our friends there and
bird
did bird
trivia.
trivia. Guys, wait until you see our bird trivia experience.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I've with a lot of these things you do them and you're like, yeah, that was really good. And then you kind of forget about it for a while and then something reminds you and it's that I gotta go do that again or I gotta go visit that habitat again.
I feel like some of the stuff though, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably never going back there again.
Like where?
Like when I was doing the Louisiana videos, like I don't think I'll be back on the
You
Nichols
don't think
State
you'll ever be
campus.
back at back in Louisiana?
I don't know. The only thing I feel like I need to do there is go to New Orleans and try more of their food.
Yeah, New Orleans is something. It is definitely an experience hanging
Taking a
out there.
Saints game, maybe, if they're ever
That's
good.
something I didn't get to do when I was down there that I would like to do still.
You go to a Saints game.
Yeah,
I feel like we always end up talking about states that we want to go to. I was gonna say, what's a state that you would love to just spend a year in exploring?
a
But it
year
can't be
in
a
one
popular
state.
one. Yep, it can't be a popular one.
What does
It
that
can't
mean? Can't be a
can't be
popular one.
like Texas, Florida, Arizona, like a non-birding state that you want to explore.
I mean Idaho has been on my list because I've heard that
Because
it's
you love
super
potatoes.
underrated. I've heard it's
Oh,
super underrated.
by
Um,
who?
well, nobody talks about it.
Maybe
When's
there's a
the last
reason.
person besides me that's been like, go to Idaho?
Nobody. That's why I don't like.
Exactly.
Who's telling you it's
You told me not to
underrated?
pick pick one that people
No, no.
like.
But I'm saying you're saying that's people are saying that's underrated. Who is saying that?
I think if I'm remembering right, I think Matt Miller lives in Idaho, and I think in his book Fishing Through the Apocalypse, he really talked it up.
See, I think you're thinking that's cool for fish.
Well, you didn't say I just had to do bird stuff.
So
I
you're
can't
just
go
gonna go there
fishing
and you're gonna
and
fish.
birding. I'm sure there's cool birds there. You get the boreal stuff and then the mountain stuff, and then I'm
One
assuming the
thing I
prairie
remember him
stuff.
saying was about curlews. I think he said that they have a lot of long-billed curlews
That
and that you
sounds
can
awesome.
hunt them there.
That doesn't sound awesome.
But he was talking about different fish there. I remember that.
Why would there be a curlew hunting season? I feel like that doesn't make sense.
I don't know. People hunt all sorts of things that don't really make
I'm
sense.
a long-billed curlews.
I thought so.
It's illegal.
Is it illegal? What was
Right.
he talking about then? He was talking about hunting something out there.
There's an article from Audubon that says people keep shooting long-billed curlews in southwest Idaho.
Okay, never mind. I was right. He was saying that people shoot them.
Well, like they're not supposed to, right?
Right, but it happens.
That's weird. That's like such a random thing.
So here's a random fact about hunting that you may not know is that apparently the mourning dove is one of the most hunted game birds.
Yeah, that kind of makes me sad.
Mourning doves are so
I feel like
chill.
people, yeah, that's how I feel about hunting cranes too. Like you could just walk up to a crane and eventually they would fly away, but they're pretty chill.
So I was surprised when we did the birds you don't want at your bird feeder video, how many people said they don't like mourning doves. Because I've always found mourning doves to be very peaceful at bird feeders. They just kind of sit there or chill out. And people said that they didn't like that they're so fat.
I feel like they just don't like because they will sit on a platform feeder and just gorge themselves, and then they got to go refill the feeder.
But
People
why are
don't
we
like,
saying that they gorge themselves? They don't gorge themselves any more than any other bird does.
well, if they're bigger, they probably eat more.
People
And I
are
feel like they
like,
kind of knock
I
seed
hate
around
my
too.
local mourning doves because they're too fat.
Yeah. Was looking into this curlew thing, and they have a program. they launched a program called Curlews in the Classroom to teach students about curlews.
Hmm,
So yeah, it's kind of weird that hunting is like a thing there. Also, I think it's weird. There's a picture of a curlew chick that a lot of those birds with interesting bills, like their bill starts out looking normal. Like black skimmer, when they're born, they have a more normal looking bill, and then it like gets more specialized as they
that's
grow up.
interesting.
Yeah. Birds are
Curlews,
wild,
man,
man.
I
There's so
tell
much to
you.
know. See, don't you want to go live for a year in Idaho now and save the curlews?
Not really.
What's your state nobody likes that you're gonna live in?
I didn't say it had to be a state. Nobody.
That's
Did you pick
that's
Idaho because no one
basically what
likes it?
you said.
No, I just said it couldn't be a typical bird tourism state
I think you said it
because
can't be
it's really easy
popular.
to be like, yo, I'll spend a year hanging out in
What's
Arizona
wrong with that?
or nothing's wrong with that. I just wanted a different answer, and you
You
seem to
could.
pick the one state that no one wants to be in.
I don't know why people don't respect Idaho.
It's just known for potatoes, and if you really like potatoes, it's a great place to be.
I don't know. I gotta go there and find out. I gotta figure out what it's all about.
You got to go visit Dr. Jeff Meldrum,
Maybe. Probably would if I lived for a year in Rhode Island.
renowned Bigfoot researcher, Dr. Jeff
So what's
Meldrum.
your state? I
Rhode Island.
feel like there's some decent birding in Rhode Island. You just want to do a big year in a small state.
I think it would be so cool to do a big year in Rhode Island because
What if
I
it just
think
was super boring? Just like I've seen everything there is to
think about
see.
how exciting it would be when just one thing came through. You would drive, from one end of the state to the other, and a half hour later you're there.
How long do you think it takes to drive from one end to the other?
I'm gonna say 4 hours.
Is Rhode Island the smallest state or is it Connecticut?
I always thought it was Rhode Island.
Yeah, I typed how long does it take to drive across Rhode Island and it took from my location to Rhode Island.
And
That's 17 and a half hours. It
not as
says
bad as I thought.
everyone in the state lives within a half-hour drive to the sea. It would take
Everyone in the
45
state.
minutes to drive across Rhode Island via I-95
Are you
between
serious?
Massachusetts and Connecticut, is what it
It only
says.
takes 45 minutes?
If you're on the freeway, it sounds like.
Wow. So
Yeah,
you
you
can
could.
reach essentially anywhere in Rhode Island in 45 minutes. Well, I guess not because you could have to take back roads, but
It's pretty well. So it's bigger north to south. Well, it's got kind of an interesting shape.
I've never really thought about Rhode Island's shape.
Well, now you have to. I think that's gotta be the smallest state, right? Delaware is not smaller, is it?
I think it's Rhode Island.
Do we see what the big year record is? Rhode Island is 1,214 square miles. Its distances north to south are 48 miles and east to west 37 miles.
No way. That is tiny. It's amazing that it got the privilege to be a state.
Let's see here. Um,
It's
I'm
actually
gonna
so
figure
small
this
they don't
out.
keep big year records.
There's just no information. I'm sure there's some, probably multiple people that have done a big year in Rhode Island.
I'm sure. I think every state has had people do big years in them.
Let's see.
I think another state that'd be funny to do a lot of birding in would be one of the plains states, Nebraska.
Oh, a lot of corn in
A
Nebraska.
lot of corn. There's some cool stuff that must winter there, though.
We're gonna do all-time e-birders for Rhode Island.
I hope we pull out a legend here.
So the top guy is named, well, I can share my screen here.
Please have a funny name.
Daniel Finizia. Probably not saying that right. And then
401.
Jan St. Jean at
Ooh,
number
I like
two.
that one. That person deserves to be number one. Look how many checklists that they've
That's a
submitted.
lot of checklists. And Barbara Sherman has way more checklists though.
Yeah. So is this all-time list like this is their all-time life list in Rhode Island?
Yeah, so somebody has 401 species. That's pretty impressive for a
Let's look at
state
how people
the
are doing
size
in
of Rhode Island.
2024.
Okay. 300.
300.
Wow, a lot of birds showed up there actually.
Jan St. John is still on it.
Still number two. But yeah, it looks like you could do pretty well. So, I mean, 300 is 93.17% of the total
That's pretty
species.
impressive, actually. Let's
Yeah.
check out Wisconsin. Let's see what the number is there right now.
Oh, I'm
I
87th.
saw that you were 234 and I thought it was the top person. I was like, wow, Wisconsin has
I've
almost
been
nothing.
birding behind your back.
Birding behind your back sounds like some sort of novel about
Some murder
betrayal in the
mystery or
birding
something.
community. Yeah.
So KK top is at 302, which is 87 points. So did Rhode Island have
So,
more? Rhode Island had two less, right? Were they at 300?
yes. And that's a lower percentage for Wisconsin. So that means there were more birds overall seen in Wisconsin than there have been in Rhode Island.
So far,
But
though.
Rhode Island has the benefit of the ocean there. So I'm assuming a lot of that birding, if you wanted to get everything, would have to be doing pelagics.
Well, I don't know if there are pelagics out of Rhode Island, though. It might just
Okay,
be
let me
sea
rephrase. It
watching.
would have to be sea watching
Yeah.
because that's where all the wild stuff's gonna come through.
Chris and Colette, number eight.
Wow, look at them go. Our friends Chris and Colette are trying really hard to get 300, except they keep taking vacations in important times and don't go after the rarest birds for some odd reason.
The field fair.
The field fair, they just didn't go get the field
It's
fair.
hard to believe that was earlier this year.
Yeah. I wonder
Year's a
what the
long
next
time.
crazy thing is gonna show up will
I don't
be.
know. I would really like a red phalarope. Minnesota had that red phalarope and an Arctic tern, and those are both things I need for my life list. So I was like, would have been great if those were here.
Both those things occasionally show up here, but I haven't gotten the chance to see an Arctic tern yet in general. Red
Yeah,
phalarope I did, but it would be cool to see a breeding plumage red phalarope.
yeah, for sure. Well, and then the females are the brighter ones, right? So female
Correct.
breeding plumage, red phalarope.
Yep.
We should look at another state. Let's look at Idaho.
Yep. You wanted Idaho, you get Idaho.
It's like 50 species. 294. Okay.
Someone's doing pretty well. Was that 91, does that say percent?
Yeah.
So significantly less than Wisconsin.
I mean, I don't know if it's a significantly less.
It's significant.
I don't know. I don't know if
It's
it is.
significant.
Well, let's compare that to like Florida.
Oh,
Nope, not Puerto Rico.
Florida, Puerto Rico. Oh,
385.
wow.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And then let's look at the United States.
We could see Ezekiel,
I'm 845th. So I'm assuming that this is
including Alaska and
yeah.
Hawaii.
I think David and Tammy McQuaid normally do like a big year every year. Ezekiel's number six on that list though.
So, what is the overall record right now for a continental big year?
Um, I don't
And do
know.
you feel like continental big years have, for some reason, sort of taken over? I feel like everybody's been talking about that
I think
more
we
than
just
a
know
regular
more
big year.
people that have done them. So the record
I thought I just saw it up there.
751 is the US contiguous 48
And is what does Eco have? 738?
ish. Yeah. So if he pulls out, handful of rarities, who knows?
I think he said there were some things he still needed, didn't he? That were
Yeah, I think
findable.
he needs like Goshawk still.
Okay. White wing crossbill, I thought was one
I
that he
think he got
mentioned.
that.
Oh, did he? Okay. It's
Yeah.
bad news for him.
Well, it's good that he got it.
Bad news that he's still got such a long way to go. He
He
needs some
needs
rare stuff
he
to
needs a
show up.
couple split a couple splits.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah. Well, it's always fun to look at the data though and kind of see what different states are like. I
I
think
don't know
it'd be
if
fun
anybody
to
else has this problem, but I get lost in eBird data sometimes and I just go down the rabbit hole.
it's easy. I feel like we need to have someone on from every state and then we can just have an episode talking about what it's like birding in that state because I feel like it's so different.
I wonder if we'll get anybody that just hates their state.
Um, Probably.
The representative from Alabama.
Alabama's got some really good birding actually.
They have
Dauphin
coastal
Island.
shoreline, yeah. Arkansas, Kansas.
Ivory-billed woodpecker, Arkansas.
Ivory-billed woodpecker territory over there.
I do wonder. I was thinking about that first sighting, in the big woods.
Which
Like
one?
Bobby Harrison, the Cornell team. It was like Bobby Harrison and oh, the guy, it wasn't Luno, who was it?
You know how on the Joe Rogan podcast he asks that one guy to look everything
Yeah.
up for him?
Yeah.
I feel like this is like that, except you're also that guy.
Yep.
We should really hire Nathaniel to do this instead.
Oh. It wasn't David Luno. It was the guy who also went and looked for the imperial woodpecker.
I don't know who that would be. I'm assuming he didn't find evidence
Tim
of the
Gallagher, I
Imperial
think.
either.
I could be wrong about this. I thought it was Bobby Harrison and Tim Gallagher were in the woods and they like legit say they just saw one fly across. Like they were super, like they were crying and they were super emotional about that it still existed.
And
And
when
that's
was
kind of
that
what
alleged to
spurred.
be?
That was right before Cornell like went out and searched the whole area, or like during that. Was that like 2001? I don't
Oh, so
remember.
that was a long time ago.
Yeah. 2004 is when the Luno video. So that's when later on they got that video that they like said was an ivory bill, but then other people think it's actually pileated. Nobody like saw that in the field. They like saw it when
Which
they
one
looked
was
back.
that?
That's like the famous one of it flying away.
Huh.
So it's the
Okay.
bird. It's a bird that's like on the back of the tree, and then it
Oh,
flies
it's
away.
in
And they
like
say,
flooded woods.
yeah, in the big woods of
Yeah, okay.
Arkansas. So
I
the
remember that one that someone took where they're above it and
oh, the
something
fly
flies.
under.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
fly under one
that
where
was
people are
later
saying
on.
maybe it
That
was a
was
kingfisher.
well, I don't it had a lot of white on the trailing
I'm just
edge.
saying what people tried to say. I don't
It's
know.
always hard to tell with all this stuff when it's just pixels and things. But the Bobby Harrison and Gallagher encounter, like having that emotional of a reaction, like it's hard for me to believe that that was affiliated, that they mistook. So you gotta wonder, like, could it have just been like, could that have been like the last one if it actually was? I don't
Maybe.
know. It's too
I don't
hard
know
to
how many
know.
people are out living in that woods.
Like nobody.
There's definitely people out there too that if you ran into them, they'd be like, "I see that woodpecker every day.
Yeah, but I feel like if you say that about anything, like you could show them a picture of a dodo bird, and there would be people out there be like, I
I
see
see
these all
that
the
every
time.
day.
Yeah,
Me and those dodos, we hang out all the time.
it'd be like a flock of turkeys or something. So I
Just
don't
wait
know.
any minute, the dodos will fly right in here like they always do." It's funny because you do encounter people like that that have that sort of confidence, and
Mhm.
you're excited about the confidence they have until you realize that their confidence is unfounded.
Well,
I
even if you're looking
remember,
for a rare bird, oh well, I remember walking in some
I
park
remember,
in Milwaukee, and someone was saying they saw faina peplas all the time. Like you, yeah, the black crested cardinals or what?
which I still don't know what in the world they were talking about.
I'm not sure what they were seeing,
No,
but
that's what I'm saying. Maybe they were on
yeah.
some hallucinogenic and they were looking into a different timeline in which
Well,
there
is that
were
what you
fatal
were going to
peplas.
talk about?
No, there was this time where there was a gray crowned rosy finch that was visiting someone's feeder up in kind of a central part of the state. It wasn't the one that you and I went to see together. I was with Bill and Spence for this one, and there was a neighbor there, and we were all staked out waiting for this bird to show up, and he's just like, "I have about 14 of these that have been visiting my feeder for 10 years."
What if he did though?
That's what I'm saying. Is for a second I was like, maybe we should just run over there, give it a look.
Yeah, you never know. Well, there was that kite species or hawk or I don't remember what it was. There was some bird that was just rediscovered because some guy was taking pictures on his trip. Then he posted his pictures on iNat. People were like, this bird's never been photographed ever.
Yeah, well, it is funny because sometimes those people are correct. So someone will be like, "Oh, this extinct animal's been on my property for years. I'm just going to do the southern voice for every one of these folks." And then some scientist goes out and is like, "Sure enough, we found the endangered night parrots that we thought were extinct." And then it's just like, "I told you."
Well, apparently on indigenous land, they found like the biggest colony of night parrots now. So
So
who
I read
knows?
a very interesting story that they were saying that the dingo population contributed to the preservation of the night parrots because the dingoes ate and kept away the feral cats in the area.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Australia's a wild place.
We've really gone across the gambit tonight with different topics. We were going to talk about Halloween bird species.
That's yeah, yeah, here we are. Well, night parrots I could definitely be
What's the most
Halloween.
Halloween bird species? The one that may or may not exist. The ivory-billed woodpecker.
I did paint an ivory-billed woodpecker pumpkin one year.
It was sad.
It wasn't sad at that point, but
So
I don't
this
know. I feel
year,
like
I
as
want
years
to
go
try
by,
to
it gets more
make
sad.
a Eastern screech owl pumpkin. Just carve, you know how you can get rid of the top layer so you have like the lighter layer underneath?
Yeah,
I want to do it like that. Do a
that could
little
be cool.
orange morph Eastern screech owl.
Yeah, I like it. I like where your head's
Thank
at.
you. Thank you. Me too.
Good. By the beak, you could make it fully open and just look like it's breathing fire or
Or
something.
the eyes.
Put a
Oh, look at it.
flamethrower.
Oh, jeez. Scare the neighborhood kids away.
Maybe we should do a bird pumpkin carving competition or something.
I don't see any reason not to do that.
Did you make a bird pumpkin before? I feel like you did.
I feel like I made a rudimentary Eastern screech owl that was kind of just the silhouette in a hole that I carved out of the pumpkin.
Mm.
I've done some cool ones before. I did a Charmander where the tail was cut out so that it was glowing.
Hmm.
I did Goku in Super Saiyan form. That was cool.
A lot of possibilities.
A lot of possibilities.
All right, well, I think I think we've gone away from our Halloween theme here, so I think it's time to wrap it up. But any more thoughts on Halloween birds? We're leading an owl prowl in
That's
the
true.
Milwaukee area coming up, so that should be
Hopefully the
exciting.
owl will
Hopefully
show.
we can find some owls.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to go do some scouting. But the owls don't always cooperate. There was one year we scouted, found a place where there was a great horned owl calling, and then when we brought the owl prowl there, he was silent.
Yeah.
Oh, why don't
Uh
you share that fun fact about great horned owl duet vocalizations you told me?
oh yeah, so apparently the females have a higher pitched tone of voice. So when you hear them duetting, the lower one is supposed to be the male, and then the female is actually higher. Been learning a lot about owls lately.
It's like hoo hoo hoo.
And she's like,
Hoo hoo hoo.
right, exactly. Probably.
Something like that.
All right, well, thanks everybody for watching. Would like to mention we do have a Ko-fi page, which is basically like Patreon with less fees. And so you can donate if you enjoy what we're doing. And we also have a membership program where you can have different perks, such as getting a shout out or behind the scenes content. We also do member Zooms every 2 months for a certain level as well. So check out our Ko-fi page. We also have some merchandise, stuff like that. And thanks so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Badgerland Birding Podcast.